Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. So this is kind of the work in progress, but kind of the new format that I'm going to be using moving forward. And this is also an invitation to make some art while we're having this conversation. That's what we're going to be doing. The reason this is so fun is because one thing I notice at all the workshops I go to and just being with friends, and we're always making art together, there's something that happens when you're in conversation and you're also making art at the same time. It's just really fun, and things come up and things are being expressed, but there's another way of the expressions happening, which is what's going on the page. I know you guys, most of you guys listening are artists, so I'm sure to just see these different artists and different people who are coming and having them express themselves in this visual way as well as verbally is really fun. So again, feel free to grab your book. I tend to work in this journal. It's kind of a daily practice, and so I'll be doing that today, just using some of the materials that my guest here has brought. So let me introduce you to, this is Raquel Baldocchi. Raquel and I have known each other 10 or 12 years at least. Raquel was one of the folks who was in my mentorship program about 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. And she's a now full-blown mixed media contemporary artist in the Bay Area. Her studio is in Sausalito, in the same building as mine. And she's on a jag right now, a tear with her new work, and we're gonna talk about that. But thank you for being here, it's so great.
Nice to be here.
Yeah,
Thanks.
So you've got a whole bunch of papers here. So before we kind of start talking, I wanna tell us what you're doing a little bit with your work.
So I've just gotten to a realization that painting with a brush for me right now is not working. But when I print paint onto paper, it gives it more of a pop and intensity and luminosity, like on that paper. You can't get that white from white paint.
Right.
Something about the luminosity of the paper comes through when you print on it with acrylic paint.
And what is this paper that is so white?
That's just newsprint.
This is newsprint?
Yeah, so it's not even that it's, newsprint's not that white actually, but it's just that process of something being smashed into it.
Yeah.
You get all kinds of different marks, you get a different intensity of the paint, you get surprises.
Right. And you get the colors are kind of coming through. There's just all these surfaces that happen, all this texture coming through. It's like an old wall, the patina that happens.
Yeah, and you can place things onto this, it's a gelatin plate, it's called a jelly plate, that if you put things on top of it, that you've already rolled out the paint on, and you print it onto a paper, it's like a monoprint.
Yeah.
Then the string will prohibit the paint from printing in certain areas, so you'll get these marks that are just the paper, or in this case, like a transparent paper. And then when you glue that down onto a panel, it's just a completely different look than if you took a paintbrush and tried to paint that.
Yeah, no, it's totally. It's a printing quality, and it's so immediate, and it's so fresh, and it removes your hand out of it a little, which is what I like.
And you honestly don't know what you're going to get, which is the other good thing. You can't plan it too much. The less you plan, the better the result.
Yeah, and you're okay with me cutting some of these pieces out? Okay, cool.
It's just a piece of paper.
Yeah, okay, great. So I'm just going to start, and you're gluing with just gloss medium, right?
I'm gluing with medium. Actually, I use like a thicker gel,
Oh, really?
Gel
Why is
medium.
that?
It's just more gluey it's less liquid than the the fluid.
What is that? It's glue or?
No, it's a medium. It's just thicker. It's like heavy gel as opposed to fluid.
Okay.
And I put that right on the panel, and then I wet the paper, which has already been printed and dried. That's the other thing. These things dry in 2 seconds after you've printed them. They're dry. It's acrylic.
And you're using a jelly plate to do it, right?
Yeah.
And
then I wet the already dried printed paper and put it on the panel. So right now, that just is exciting to me.
Yeah.
And it's a new way of working, and I'm just trying to go with it. So it's really, I'm collaging with acrylic paint that's been printed.
Yeah. So, but what's cool is, And I'm looking at what you just started that since we were sitting here.
No,
while we were sitting in the
I
lights on.
just
You
started
had that
gluing
going?
onto
Okay.
it. But
Okay.
yeah, you can make a big move like you're about to with that yellow piece.
But what I was going to say is that the colors, because you're making it all, this does not feel that dissimilar to your painted work. I mean, it's all your sensitivity, all your sensibilities, right? Because you're making the paper.
Yeah.
It's not like you're buying this. So it doesn't, I mean, I know it's different looking than what you normally do a little bit, but those are your colors. All these are your colors. I mean, it's
And
Raquel
what
Baldocchi.
I'm doing is building a palette. So I've been wanting for a long time to have sort of a process in place when I come into the studio. And when I've been doing this in the past, I'm sort of scrambling for collage papers. Now I come in and the first thing I do is I make papers. I make colors that I don't have. So I'm building a palette so I can just go, oh, do I have pink? Yes, I have 10 pinks.
You know what's cool about that is that you're coming into the studio and you're experimenting. You're like playing.
You're playing.
You're not even like trying to make anything. Well, you are making something, but it's just this let's see what happens kind of thing.
Yes, you don't know what it's going to be.
Cool.
You don't know what it's going to be. It's like, the way you taught in the mentorship, the first instruction you gave me was paint like you're in kindergarten. That's a really good instruction, actually.
Yeah, no, totally.
So
but I
that's
love
what
that
it
you
is.
built that into your practice now,
Yeah, because I need that. I need the play and the take the control away more than anything else because I will over control pretty quickly.
It's so fast. Like, look at this texture. Look at that page. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's like done.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to get this going. I'm going to paint along with this. Wow,
Okay,
that's
so
beautiful.
you have my scissors.
Oh, yeah, okay. So when we did the mentorship, we all went to that ranch. You have that family ranch in Salinas, right?
It's in San Juan Bautista.
Yeah. You guys, it's this incredible ranch that your grandfather?
My grandfather bought. It's Gabilan Ranch, and we are part of the holistic resource movement of cattle people.
Oh, yeah, right.
And so you can check that out.
Yeah, okay.
It's
We'll have
it's a
links
very
in the
cool
show
thing
notes.
to be a part of.
But this is this incredible ranch, and it's got all this history, and we took a whole group of people there, and we made art there and everything. But one of the things I remember about it, which I know it relates a lot to your work, was there was this kind of like cabinet of curiosities. It was this cabinet with all these drawers, and I don't know if it was your mother or your grandmother.
It was my great aunt.
Great aunt, and she collected. There was a whole drawer, like a paper file full of all these like white shells, then violet shells and green shells. It was like she was cataloging the natural world, and you pull these open. It was so cool.
And her husband had built the cabinetry, and it started out with really shallow drawers, and then they would go down to really deep drawers where she'd have, big urchins and she cataloged the whole thing. Yeah,
So what was that about? I mean, she was
she was just sort of like a naturalist, really into nature, super incredible gardener, cook. She was eccentric, and I actually think she's been the most influence on me from anyone in my family.
Yeah.
And on my website, after the mentorship, you encouraged us to do, newsletters and such, and I had this newsletter for a while that included a blog about her and all of the different creative things she did, because she did scrapbooks that had all kinds of, natural things and stories and tons of these things. She made ornaments every year for Christmas that were incredible, like a different theme every year.
Wow.
And she also did a lot of textile art. So I do have on my website a little bit about her where I show her influence on me as an artist.
That's, family. I mean, was that the way to describe it? Your work is about that. You're doing... what do you need? White? Gloss. Meaning. You were showing me in the studio those portraits, and they were from 1920, Yale yearbook or something, right?
Vanderbilt, yeah.
Vanderbilt, yeah.
Yes.
Is that where they went?
I just, in the end, I'm attracted to ancient and modern together. So I love that my family has interesting characters on both sides of my family, and there's great documentation of them. And they show up in my work all the time.
That is so cool.
Yeah. Right now I have a painting that you saw. It's almost all of it is paper right now. Almost all of my paintings are almost all paper. Is from a Garcia Marquez book. Did you ever read that?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So Love in the Time of Cholera.
Magical realism, yeah.
That's so me.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's the good way to describe it.
And I'm actually living a Love in the Time of Cholera story right now.
Why? What is going on?
Because actually the blog I was working on about my great aunt, I stopped doing when my husband passed. And that's like been 5 years.
Yeah, wow.
And a year after that, there was lockdown, COVID, shelter in place.
Right.
And my boyfriend from college, 45 years later, reached out to me. And it's on,
During COVID.
So it was Love in the Time of Cholera. Do you remember they're they're trapped on this ship. They can't get off because there's this pandemic.
Oh my God.
So we have this whole, virtual romance, after 45 years.
So why did you guys split up what happened?
Because we were, young and stupid and, way too young.
Yeah.
And, it took me 49 years to get married. So, there's that. But when we were in college together, his mother, named Sylvia Roth, she is an artist and she was a printmaker in those days. And she influenced me into becoming a printmaker. Because when you were with him the first time, you got to know his mother? That's right, yeah. Yeah, well, I was very close to his family.
Wow,
and
so it was a serious relationship.
They were the biggest influence on me for those years, much more so than the school I attended. So I learned a lot from them. But this bit about the paper coming through, the white of the paper, I learned that from her.
Really?
Yeah, and I went on to get a degree in printmaking, and now that it's back on,
the relationship's
back on. His name is Stevie.
Wow.
He gets my work. He gets my art. He loves to talk about my work. So I'm in this whole new life.
Wow.
That's completely art related and harkens back to my teenage years of trying to figure out how to be an artist.
That is so cool.
It's very cool. It's
to have it now.
To have it now in the third act.
Yeah.
The third act.
God, amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. So and honestly, he is like family to me, and they were like family to me, and family is huge for me. And now it's, built into my art practice.
Did your your mom and dad, they were like ranch people.
Well,
did they understand art?
My mom came from a ranching family, and my dad's family was from El Salvador, actually, and Italy. And he was a designer, an industrial designer and graphic designer. But they weren't art appreciators with any sophistication. They didn't go to museums, and they weren't, but they always inspired me and encouraged me, rather, to pursue art.
Oh, that's pretty great.
Okay, scissors. So they were super supportive of me, even though they weren't, art appreciators in a big way.
Yeah, yeah.
They let me be me.
That is so cool.
Yeah, it is so cool. I think about it a lot because I was super lucky. Life has been really good to me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, and your partner now, what's his name? Stevie. I think I remember you.
I told you about it.
Yeah, you were like, what's amazing is that he's actually can talk about a huge part of my life that you couldn't
and about my work. I show him what I'm working on, and he brings all this insight to it.
Really?
And then I'll be, okay, talk about something else, and he'll say, I'm not done talking about the painting.
Wow. Wow.
So that's pretty amazing,
it's
right?
really amazing. Wow.
It's one of those sort of meant to be stories, because I think I told you I was done. When my husband died, I felt like I'd had the good marriage, lucky me. I had nothing to complain about. I was not going to pursue, no.
And he just calls up? He emails
me. 45 years. He didn't have my
What
phone
do you
number.
say when you haven't talked to someone for 45 years? Hey, I was just thinking about you.
Here's the thing. What I did say out loud on a number of occasions was, if I was ever going to be with someone again, and I told you this, it's got to be someone I already know. I'm not going to date.
What? Because
I don't want to go through all of that. I don't want to go through learning about someone from scratch. I didn't need to. I was okay. And then when I saw his email come in and I saw his name, like just checking in, I thought, someone I already know, right there.
Wow.
Right there.
That is so wild.
No, it's really something else.
And your art world and what you're doing, like, it kind of took off. Like, you got the gallery, you dreamed of getting the galleries and you did all that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Where are you now in it?
So now the truth is I'm not super prolific. So it takes me a long time to do this work, but I always have some opportunity shows up at the right time, and I'm in group shows at that same gallery.
This is with Donna Seeger in Bay Area.
And I have some pieces in Ruby Living, which is a furniture.
High-end furniture, yeah.
Yeah, and from that, I have a potential show coming up, which I'll tell you about when I have it more nailed down. But it was one of these things where, we want 12 paintings.
Oh, wow.
So do you remember right after the mentorship, I had been working on a ton of stuff.
Right.
And remember the day that I was just like finishing up and I was vacuuming the studio, and I get this email, we'd like to give you a solo show at Throckmorton. And I had 20 paintings, like right there.
Well, and that was the whole thing with the mentorship. It was a year-long program, and I think everyone made 10 paintings, right?
I think it was 6 months, and we made more like 6 to 8.
Okay, but it was just like, we're going to make these so friggin' good, and we checked in on it.
It was about working on a body of work.
Yeah,
It was the way you were kind of having us have all these panels up, work on them, 4 one day, 4 the next day, back and forth until it got to a certain stage. But, it really improved the quality of what I was doing, for sure.
Really intentional, and you just keep working on it. Hey, what is this paper that I'm using here? This is like rice paper?
It's
really cool. The white part disappears.
I'm trying to remember what it's called. It's wet tissue, not wet tissue, wet something like that.
Okay. The paper kind of goes away.
Yeah.
When you put gloss
see if something
really
high
cool.
contrast is behind it. That is like a savior,
Yeah.
It takes it like 3 steps ahead.
Yeah, look at that.
Without
surface.
you even trying.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, I love the transparent. So you can print on the transparent stuff and then use it on top. It's just great. It's just a fun way to work. But so I feel like I'm in a really good place. I was stuck for a long time, and I do get stuck. Mm-hmm. But this kind of cutting things out of paper and gluing them down is liberating.
Well, there's all kinds of surprise in it. You just don't know what you're going to get.
And you can just keep building.
Yeah. I talk a lot about like my process and everything, and I used to try to figure out. I used to try and plan, and I don't even think about what I'm going to make until I'm standing there and making it, because it's so much more fun. And I'm never gonna, even if I think about it, I'm not gonna end up doing what I'm thinking about.
You're really good at like not being attached to stuff, though. You can just kind of move right on.
Well, yeah, I'm not too worried about it.
Like, as you used to say, nothing's sacred. Don't get attached. Just like keep it moving. And I have to do that. I rarely ever get anything in one go.
What's been like the biggest sort of aha for you since, what has helped you? What has helped you progress the most, would you say, in the last numbers of years, how you started thinking, or?
I just kind of keep switching things up. Like, here's a perfect example of a new way of approaching a piece because I do get stuck and I do beat dead horses. That's always been the deal. But if I can not be attached and switch it up and turn it upside down and glue a bunch of paper on it, it might get to where it's supposed to be going.
Right, right.
So I think it's just like the keep it moving. And I'm not always good at that. But that's what, like, for example, 2 of the paintings I'm doing now are other paintings that just kind of didn't want to be painted, I think.
Yeah.
So I just turned them upside down and made new paintings on them. And then I'm freer. Then I can go ahead and destroy something if I don't care anymore. I think that's part of what you teach.
Totally, yeah. What are you using there? That's that.
So this is a stencil I made.
Oh, you made it?
Yeah, you just cut it out of vellum-y kind of.
Oh, so it's not gonna. So you traced a flower or something?
Yeah, this is from a moo of my mom's, like it's a hibiscus.
Oh my
and
God.
I'm working on a painting of her standing with the ukulele. It's kind of a big mess right now.
Can I?
You want to use that?
Yeah, I want to use the mama. I love you making your own stencils because
Yeah.
you buy these and they always look kind of cheesy.
No, they're just awful.
Do you? How do you? It works better if you use like a brush from the top, right? Or do you just paint it?
Yeah, it probably works better to that, dab it.
Yeah. Okay.
And see, this is the other thing about the jelly plate. You can print that. I think I have one with the hibiscus.
Oh, right.
You can put it on the plate, and then those lines will come through, and then you'll have a ghost of it.
Right.
Because the stenciling often doesn't really.
It's not as clean.
It's not as clean. That's why, like, you can see a ghost of the hibiscus here.
Right.
And I probably had one before that was more graphic. Like, I'm sure I have one here that's graphic. So you just get this combination. Like here it is, a little more graphic.
Yeah. Wow.
And there's this machine, what's it called? It's a machine that will cut out things.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Oh, that looks great. It'll cut out paper or vinyl.
Oh yeah, that little laser
like
printer cutter. It's a printer cutter. Yeah.
And I bought a model that was going out of. They weren't going to reproduce it anymore.
Yeah.
So it's not quite as cool as the ones you can get now. But you can put an image in. The software is amazing. You can put in an image. You can stretch it a whole bunch of things. You can make it long. You can make it wide, and then the machine will read the image and cut it out.
Wow. Just perfectly.
Sometimes not so perfectly, but perfectly enough. Or it'll do, let's say it does this, but it doesn't cut all the way through, and then you can punch it all the way through. But I've made stencils that way too. And it will cut out paper that you can just then glue onto your...
Wow.
Yeah.
This is my latest tool. See this thing? It's
it's
like
ravioli cutter.
Yeah, but it's really like the bomber version.
I think you used to use those sewing tracing tools.
Yeah, so this is
making delicate lines. That's really cool.
Made in Italy. This is a pasta one.
Cut the ravioli apart.
But it's really, you're Italian, right?
I'm a quarter
Baldocchi?
Italian. Yeah, from Lucca.
Oh, okay.
I did a big painting of my grandfather from Lucca that was in one of those Seeger Gray shows with like a what do you call bowler
Oh, yeah,
hat?
I know that one. Yeah, the bowler hat one.
Yeah. So I'm unfortunately, I don't think I can keep working on panel. They're just too unwieldy for me, but I'm
So what are you
not
going to do?
excited about canvas at all, but I think I might have to.
I think you might, it might be good to take the canvas and if you prime it a bunch and sort of seal it so it's like a piece of paper. So then it's very sensitive because doing these delicate things on canvas, there's a texture to it.
Yeah.
And it's sort of weird.
I don't like that.
But you can, use a trowel and put on a surface, let it dry, sand it, put on another surface. You can get it so it's like a piece of paper. But it's
You don't
on
have
canvas.
the give. It does. I mean, it gives when
Well,
you.
I put my canvases on a panel.
Yeah,
and then I take them off.
that's a lot of work.
Yeah, a little bit, but then when you're ready to sell it or put it in the gallery, you take it off the panel
And stretch it back.
and roll it, and they just put it on stretcher bars, so it's very light. Yeah. It's not that bad. It's not that hard.
Gloss medium.
And then, here you go.
That looks great.
There's and this is another pasta thing. It's a cutter, which I've never actually even used. I'm going to try it.
You might cut the page.
Oh, wow. This is cool.
All right, where's my threader thing?
Oh, wow. It does like really clean lines. Okay, this is amazing. Well, this is so cool because you can clean this tool because it's like a super, it's a really like high quality, it's like a very good cooking tool.
No, but I mean, really, since the mentorship, I have really found my little groove. I like the gallery that shows me sometimes. I should get more exposure.
I remember you were really, look how thin those lines are.
Wow.
Is that nuts? This is cool.
That is really cool.
Made in Italy. I know people are going to be curious. La Gondole, Gondola. We'll get this and we'll put it in the show notes, you guys. This is amazing. You know, when you were trying to get this gallery and it was, it was heartbreaking, you showed the work and then, they didn't really respond and, you were going through all these freakouts around it, and then they did and they didn't. And, what do you think about this for people who are just, it's just such a journey and it's so emotional.
The interesting thing is though, Nick, I'm learning all the time now that galleries are not necessarily the thing.
Not at all.
You know, I mean, you have a couple of galleries that you sometimes show with, right?
No, I show with the gallery I'm most aligned with right now is Julie Nestor Gallery.
And that's in Utah.
Yeah.
And so how often do you show there?
Probably like almost every year. I'm doing a show. I'm working on a body of work right now upstairs. I'm having a show at the end of July. Mm-hmm. You know what's cool about this is you can glue the paper on top of wet paint even.
Well, because
this is like perfect.
The paint is glue.
Perfect for impatient people. This process you're
and you
doing.
Can just keep layering it. Like I was working on a piece today, and I was not liking the ones I'd glue, and I just glue on top of them the same shape or something transparent on top of them.
God,
it's really fun, is what it is. But anyway, so just listening to, people like you who you have a huge online presence, but it's not entirely about making your work. You're teaching people and you do workshops away, and you have a bunch of other ways that you are doing this art thing other than selling through galleries.
Yeah, no, I mean we're Art2Life is all about helping people find their authenticity, right? And that's a super important part of, I mean, it's almost like wellness. I mean, it's something that is such a great thing to be in pursuit of, right? So we get a lot of people that are full-blown artists, but a lot of people who are just coming into this who, for the first time, are just creatively curious or just wondering, what would happen if I started to make work? What would it be like? What would, And,
so I mean, I just went to the panel with Louise Fletcher, right? And she's got a whole YouTube thing going, and she sells her work and she teaches, and none of it involves a gallery.
Right.
So that's just, it's not the way some people want to go.
Oh yeah, no. I don't know what the percentages of people who need to sell their work or want to sell their work, or.
But the money isn't always coming through selling through a gallery.
Yeah.
There's just other ways to do this.
Yeah, no, totally.
And I even I've started knitting again after
my
decades.
daughters knit.
Do they?
Yeah.
Well, there's a whole world out there.
There's a huge world.
Where people are knitting. Like, here's how many things I did in 2023. And they're like stacks. And I'm thinking, how do you even wear all that stuff? But what I've learned is that people who have channels,
You mean like Instagram or whatever?
YouTube, where they talk about their knitting, they are supported by people through Patreon.
Yeah.
Or,
Oh, for sure.
there are other things like that, right? Like not GoFundMe, or there's some mechanism you can use through those channels where you can be supported by, the audience at large, just to see you building your eco house in Italy and the knitting you're doing.
Yeah.
So this is what
totally.
I mean. The world is just so completely
It's great.
different from 10 years ago when we were doing the mentorship.
Yeah, well,
Completely different.
yeah.
And the art world is definitely not the same. So that's how it should be. It should be evolving.
Yeah, and it's great that, people are, with you finding something and you get into it and you can talk about it and share it, it's just really fun to learn from other people. I mean, I'm doing something I would never have done because you're here. Like, this is really fun.
Good. Yeah,
Really,
it's really
really
fun.
cool.
But back to the gallery here. The reason I wanted to be in this gallery, I think they have good quality artists, is that it's my community. It's in my community. I like that.
Yeah, that sort of ties back to the family thing.
Yes.
I was the artist in the family, and my
And
dad.
your dad.
My dad was an artist and
Yeah.
everything. No one besides my dad really understood what I was doing, but I was totally supportive, similar.
And
to
you always were doing it, right, from a young age?
Yeah, there was a period between like 9 and high school, or I really got back into it in high school. Mm-hmm. That's when it really kind of kicked in, And part of it was sort of an identity, It's like you got to do, we all, especially in elementary school, we all want to have something that we're good at, And now I was good at that, and that was probably why I got into it, a little bit,
Yeah. Well, and your dad was the role model, right?
Yeah. Look at this.
Gorgeous. You got your stencil.
I'm gonna try something. I'm gonna use my blow dryer, but this is this electric blow dryer, battery operated. The brand is Lylux, Lylux, and but it's not very loud, but there's no cord.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of cool. So hopefully this is not, we'll see. We'll see on the recording how loud this is. But I don't want to turn the page and have this glue.
Well, right. So what do? Just I'm going to put a piece of tracing paper in between or something.
Yeah, I'll use a piece of tissue paper in between because I'm ready to work on the next page.
Here's some tracing. You want tracing?
I got it.
Okay.
I should have a piece of wax paper. That's the best.
Freezer paper, that has a plastic coating.
Can you hand me the green paper?
This
Yeah,
one?
that's great. Wow.
Well, I'm glad this is inspiring you.
Yeah, I feel like my book's a little small. I want to.
Yeah, it is a little small, but-
Do you have the scissors? Okay. So, in terms of what inspires you, and are you taking trips, or where do you go? Do you take, what do you? Because I know you're gone a lot from the studio.
I'm
but
not,
maybe
though. I'm really not.
You're not. You're just your door's closed.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'm here a lot. I'm just always, inspired by stories, real stories, imagined stories, things I hear about, things I read. I did read Love in the Time of Cholera again, and that was completely inspiring. I mean, I took notes. I have the notes in this journal. I have my Love in the Time of Cholera notes.
So what is it about other stories of families and trials and tribulations?
That's
What is
just
it?
what I'm attracted to. And visually, I'm attracted to human forms and portraiture. I don't know how it is that I ended up doing so many portrait type paintings, but I'm just intrigued by
who these
people are. And I'm also including their animals. A lot of the time, they're animals in my work. I just think it's visually interesting. And it's like you can tell a story from it.
Yeah.
Anybody can.
Right. Well, you can infer a story, right?
You can
look
infer
at a portrait.
Story, but listen, I did a painting that a woman bought that I'm now friends with her. Her husband's a writer. He teaches at Stanford. And it's this just scene of people around a table. And she bought it because she sees them in the painting. She sees her family in the painting.
Right.
And, when you had encouraged us all to promote and do this, part of the newsletter that I had initially started doing was including interviews with my collectors. So I went to the house of someone who bought a painting from my studio.
Uh-huh.
And I wanted to ask, why do you like my paintings?
God, that's like a great idea.
Yeah, I thought so too.
I mean, no one does that. And it puts these buyers right in the limelight. And it's actually really interesting.
Well,
what do you see in it kind of thing?
Yeah, so as soon as I had stepped into her place, I got it. I knew why she bought my stuff.
Oh, no kidding.
We are on the same page. And we are now very close friends. This is the great thing when you become friends with people who buy your art.
Yeah, right.
So what I asked her was, why do you like my paintings? And she said, first of all, I just think they're beautiful, but I can tell myself a story when I'm looking at that painting. And so I came back and made a painting from that interview that she ended up buying because it kind of looked like me in her space, this painting.
Wow.
So this is how the paintings come about.
That is so cool to actually turn it into story before you make it.
Yeah, and not even knowing you're doing that.
That is a great idea. That's a whole series,
Well, it's they're all like that though. Somebody's going to see something in your work that you don't even see,
Yeah.
So.
Wow, that's really cool.
But I will always be looking at the figure and people's stories. I'm just attracted to that.
I had a crazy thing happen to me. When I used to do illustration, I've done all these dog food packages. I don't know, you remember Maisie, my dog.
A long time ago.
Yeah, Lotus, and they're still going strong. And
really?
Yeah, it's a huge Lotus brand dog food. It's like a gourmet dog food, but it's all, anyway, I made up all these dogs, and they're kind of cartoony, but sophisticated.
But someone could relate to the dog.
But somebody, this woman, Mindy, her name is, she called the dog food company and said, I love these. Who is this guy who does these?
Awesome.
And she ended up contacting me, and I went and met her.
Uh-huh.
It just seemed crazy. But I walked in, and she is a talent scout in LA. And she puts movies, movie stars audition to be in these movies, who knew? But, they're all trying to get in certain movies. And so she kind of runs those and helps movie directors and producers find talent. And so I walked into her house and her studio, and the whole place was like my work. It was all the textures, all the colors, well, no wonder.
Yeah.
I mean, it was crazy.
It's like attracts like.
And so she lived in LA and I lived up north. She wanted to move up here, and she wanted to find a place in the country, and she had this whole vision, and she described it, and we were thought the same. And she loved the Bay Area, and she loved the kind of the rolling hills, and she was looking for this place to live. It was a dream. She wanted this whole thing. It was going to be a ranch, but she hadn't found it yet, and she came and stayed with us a couple times. She visited a bunch, but she's like, I got to move up here. But she lived in Santa Monica. It was complete opposite.
Right.
And she hired me to make a picture of this place for her website, and I painted this place, and it's this little like barn with the rolling
from
hills.
your imagination?
Yeah, because I know what she loved. It's West Marin, and it's the rolling hills and the ocean. You could see the ocean. About a year later, after I paint this thing, she comes up here and she finds the property in Bolinas. It was a barn, an original barn, which is so rare. She buys this property, and it was exactly what I painted. I mean, I went with her to look at the property, and it was like, this is crazy. And she lives in this barn now.
Really?
Yeah. But anyway, it was just such a...
Well, see, so art imitating life, life imitating art. It's all, we're all creating it all the time. Right? We're creating our lives. We're creating our art. Yeah, and honestly, what I've learned after having, lost my husband, like I had no idea I could take a hit like that. No idea. But I learned that, good things can happen. That's the mantra.
Like it's not over.
It's not over. It's in fact not even close.
Wow.
And that first year, I did travel a lot, but I remember kind of noticing the good things that were happening. Yeah. And I had like a new Zumba class, and my best friend from Costa Rica came for Thanksgiving. And I told my Zumba teacher, I just want to tell you, I lost my husband, but with my new Zumba class and my friend coming from Costa Rica, good things can happen. And I think we called in my new life in that moment.
Wow.
I do, because he was like, yes. And
yeah. It's like the energy you put out brings in the new.
And if you and I try to pay this forward all the time. Like, look, no matter how bad things look, there is good to be had.
Yeah.
And good things do happen.
Yeah. It's, and I feel like this art making thing is such a metaphor for that, because you're actually just like zeroing in on what you like and doing more of that and cutting up and covering up the things you don't like. And, it's just
you're creating.
It's a curation.
Yeah, it is.
It's a curation.
And your life is the same way.
Yeah.
People come to my house now. I've had 2 people say this to me. They said, your house is like walking into one of your paintings.
Oh, that is so great. That is so great.
Okay, got this dirty. Can you hand me paper towels and I'll clean it?
Awesome.
Yeah, because, we are doing all of this all the time, sort of in every part of our lives.
I remember you going through that with your first husband, and, you'd found each other, and it wasn't like you had 30 years together.
We had 15, not that many.
Yeah, and how devastating it was.
But you know what, Nick? Somehow I was able to sit in all this gratitude. I don't know how that is, but I knew I had, life has been good to me. I cannot turn my back on life. I've been dealt this really difficult hand, and I have to play it really well. Like, those are just things I knew.
God.
I know. I don't know.
But it's so hard to not.
Print with this
it's so hard to not. The grief and just the why him and why now, and it's like life sucks kind of thing.
But one of the things I did, this is so strange. A few months after he died, at night, I would put on this black velvet sepia shades like slip dress and red lipstick, and I would turn on the funky Stevie Wonder music, because that put me in an upward energy of possibility somehow.
Wow.
So here's the really weird thing. That's the music Stevie and I used to listen to when we were 18.
Oh my God.
I know.
Wow.
I know.
It's just amazing.
So it's like I called that in too somehow. Yeah. But it's, because if you can tap into the energy of when things were possible, the possibilities are endless, then that's what you live in then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Raquel, listen, thanks so much for this. And I've got a really cool page here.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, and this in particular.
Two cooler ones.
But it was so fun and really inspiring. So thank you so much. And
my pleasure.
We'll provide show links so you can find all the places, all the things for Raquel.
Thanks, Nick.
You betcha. Okay, thanks. So you guys, thanks for being here. This was really fun. And if you were making anything along with us, I hope so, and you want to share it, you want to post it on Instagram, go ahead and use the hashtag A2L podcast. And myself and my team will have a look and we'll share some of them. So I'd love to see what you made. I hope this was inspiring. It's got my wheels turning for sure. You guys, we will see you next week on the Art2Life podcast. Thanks, everybody. Okay, you guys, and before I go, I just want to remind you once again that we've announced our destination retreats. They're going to be in October. They're 8 days, 7 nights, and this year we're going to Morocco and Mexico. These are designed to cause a really powerful transformation, a shift in your thinking, and ultimately your creative expression. It's all about finding the truest version of you using art. You'll be with an amazing group of like-minded creatives. A lot of the spots are taken already, but we still have room, and these are so much fun. We will be having great connecting talks. The food's extraordinary. They're in beautiful places, both of these, and I'll be there. Obviously, I'll be bringing my creative team of coaches and facilitators. And it's just about deepening your awareness and connection to your truest self, which enables stronger, more authentic art and life. You'll be making a ton of art. And so if you're interested, again, artlifedream.com, check it out. And thanks so much. Okay.